Let's face it, Mercedes-Benz is still very much a conservative brand. It might build exciting cars like the SLS AMG, and it might in fact sponsor a Formula One team. But when it comes to cars, it attracts a slightly more conservative, in fact maybe even slightly older market. Which is why the arrival of the new A-Class is so important for this brand. It's not only a very exciting, very technologically different car with front-wheel drive, but with this car, Mercedes-Benz is hoping to attract a younger and more dynamic audience. The first A-Class was a small, even tiny car at a time when mainstream Mercedes models were generously proportioned luxury machines. It boasted front-wheel drive when Mercs were rear-wheel driven by definition. Fast forward to 2013 and another A-Class is born. The newcomer is considered revolutionary because it's so different from its predecessor. Gone is the tall, ungainly stance, replaced by a low-slung, athletically endowed hatchback. I'm in two minds about the styling of this car. It's certainly a radical departure from the previous A-Class, which was a bit of a dumpy mom's taxi, if you like. And it certainly expresses the dynamic intent of the car very convincingly. But to me, it's very fussy, and there are too many styling elements vying for attention, so that the overall effect doesn't have quite the cohesion I would have liked. The bold front end with its prowling nose and aggressive oversized grille is pure SL, SLK and even SLS. But in the A-Class context, the snout looks too big and too loud. It's as if its creators wanted to make sure that the car would not be mistaken for anything else. Perhaps that's understandable. While the profile is pure premium sporty hatchback, it's by no means a unique silhouette. In fact, take away the badge and view it from the rear and its identity is not nearly as obvious as one would expect. For me, the interior is one of the absolute highlights of the new A-Class. In fact, it's the first Mercedes-Benz interior in a very long time that I actually enjoy. It looks modern, it's comfortable, the finishes are first class, and it exudes that sort of sporty dynamism that we know Mercedes-Benz is trying to express with the car as a whole. Very, very comprehensively kitted out as well. It's a feel-good place, and when you drive the car hard, the interior feels just right. Given that car owners experience their steeds from behind the wheel rather than looking at them from the outside, the cabin execution is arguably more important long-term than the styling. The cabin is also unexpectedly spacious, with good packaging ensuring ample room for front, but adequate accommodation for rear occupants. I say adequate because the sloping roofline may make taller rear occupants feel a little claustrophobic. A color LCD display with a menu-driven interface serves as the primary control center for most of the car's key systems, and shift paddles look after the dual-clutch transmission's cog swaps in manual mode. Our first experience of the new A-Class is this flagship turbo diesel version. It's badged the A220 CDI, and it has a 1.8-litre turbo diesel engine good for 125 kilowatts of maximum power and 350 newton-meters of torque. There are a whole variety of petrol and diesel engines. On the petrol side, if that's what you prefer, the flagship would be a 2-litre four-cylinder turbo with 155 kilowatt and 350 newton-meters. This particular car has a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. The ride is firm, but likely to be too taut for some buyers. Of course, that could be specific to the sport package model tested here and the low-profile tyres, but even then, the chassis could be more supple, especially when the road surface is less than perfect, an all-too common occurrence in South Africa. The steering is precise, but feels over-assisted at medium to normal speeds and never really loads up enough when pressing on. Still, there's loads of grip. As for straight-line performance, the A220 CDI is no slouch. Turbo diesels certainly have come a long way. This A220 CDI feels spunky and sparkly, and it has a lot of grunt. Doesn't rev obviously as freely as a petrol engine, but it always has plenty of urge. The 0 to 100 time, 8.2 seconds. Top speed limited, they say, to 220 kilometers an hour, although I can share a little secret, and that is it gets to that speed and a little bit beyond quite easily, so we're not quite sure how fast the car actually is. In terms of ride and handling, a very taut, very composed car. In fact, to me, it's one of the best aspects of this car. Of course, being front-wheel driven, this is an unusual thing for Mercedes-Benz, but they've got it absolutely right. It doesn't have that sense of understeer that you'd expect with a performance-orientated front-wheel drive car. It's poised, it's balanced, and it really eggs you on to explore the limits of what the chassis can offer. Of course, the car's handling competence only comes to the fore when driven with intent. At normal cruising speeds and around town, the chassis' talents are overshadowed by a ride that conventional Mercedes customers may find too firm. Merck, however, will argue that the A-Class's target market is neither traditional nor conventional, and that a sporty demeanour is very much an intentional part of the newcomer's DNA. Everybody talks about how radical the A-Class is, and that is certainly the case when you compare it to its predecessor. It's also a radical car for Mercedes-Benz because it's the first time that it's built a front-wheel drive premium hatchback. But in the broader context of that segment, this is nothing unusual. Both BMW and Audi have got contenders there already, and for Mercedes-Benz, being the last one to join the fold, it's going to be a tough and very interesting battle. A lively and responsive turbo diesel engine, a slick dual-clutch gearbox and a focused, balanced chassis make the A220 CDI Sport a truly engaging car to drive. It also does pretty well on the economy front, and the interior is superb, but the styling isn't as radical as Merck suggests, and the ride quality lets the car down in day-to-day driving.